The life and legacy of Pope Francis, the People's Pope. He was the first Pope from the Americas, the first Jesuit Pope, and the first to take the name Francis. In a world hungry for compassion, justice, and simplicity, Pope Francis had become one of the most transformative figures in modern Catholic history. But who was the man behind the white cassock, and how had he shaped the Church in the 21st century? This is the life and times of Pope Francis. Pope Francis was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio on December 17, 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The son of Italian immigrants, Jorge grew up in a modest household, the eldest of 5 children. His father worked as a railway accountant, and from an early age, Jorge learned the values of humility, family, and hard work. At the age of 21, a severe case of pneumonia led to the removal of part of his right lung, a health challenge that didn't stop him from pursuing his spiritual path. He initially studied chemistry, but his calling led him to the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, an order known for intellectual rigor, social justice, and missionary work. Bergoglio was ordained as a Jesuit priest in 1969 and quickly gained a reputation for being deeply pastoral, deeply humble, and deeply committed to the poor. During Argentina's dirty war in the 1970s, when thousands were disappeared by the military regime, Bergoglio's role was complex and sometimes controversial. While critics questioned his actions, others praised him for quietly helping to save lives behind the scenes. In 1992, he became an auxiliary bishop of Buenos Aires, then archbishop in 1998, and later a cardinal in 2001. But unlike many high-ranking clergy, Cardinal Bergoglio lived in a small apartment, cooked his own meals, and took the bus to work. He refused opulence, a theme that would define his papacy. On March 13, 2013, following the historic resignation of Pope Benedict XVI, the conclave of cardinals elected Jorge Mario Bergoglio as the 266th Pope of the Catholic Church. The world was stunned. A Pope from Argentina, a Jesuit, and most strikingly, he chose the name Francis, after Saint Francis of Assisi, the patron of the poor. It was a signal, a bold one. This Pope would stand with marginalized, challenged status quo, and put mercy over dogma. So what did Pope Francis stand for? More than anything, he championed compassion. From the start, he emphasized a church of the poor, for the poor. He washed the feet of prisoners, embraced lepers, and visited refugee camps. His apostolic exhortation, Evangelii Gaudium, laid out his vision. A church is less about doctrine and more about evangelizing through joy, love, and social action. He was outspoken about climate change, publishing Laudato Si, an encyclical calling for global ecological action. He called climate change one of the principal challenges facing humanity. He also challenged capitalism's excesses, warning that the economy of exclusion created a throwaway culture. Yet he is not a revolutionary in the traditional sense. He hadn't changed doctrine, but he shifted the emphasis. On LGBTQ+ issues, for instance, his now famous quote, "Who am I to judge?" marked a pastoral tone far gentler than his predecessors, even if church teachings remained technically unchanged. On divorce and remarriage, he pushed for flexibility, urging priests to discern each case with mercy. He opened discussions about priestly celibacy and the role of women, topics long considered off-limits. Pope Francis had also waged a quiet but firm campaign to clean up the church. He tackled corruption in the Vatican Bank, streamlined finances, and worked towards transparency. His reforms, however, haven't come without resistance. Some conservative clergy had openly criticized him, claiming he was sowing confusion. The sexual abuse crisis has remained one of the most painful issues of his pontificate. While he had taken steps towards accountability, including establishing new guidelines and oversight commissions, survivors and advocates continue to call for more decisive action. Still, Pope Francis's willingness to listen, apologize, and even weep with the victims had marked a clear shift in tone and empathy. Beyond the walls of the Vatican, Pope Francis was a global moral voice. He met with world leaders, imams, rabbis, and Buddhist monks, championing interfaith dialogue in an increasingly fractured world. He was the first pope to visit the Arabian Peninsula and had consistently advocated for peace in Syria, Ukraine, and other conflict zones. In 2021, he made a historic trip to Iraq, meeting with Shiite leaders and walking through the ruins of Mosul, once held by ISIS. Time magazine named him Person of the Year in 2013, and even among non-Catholics, he enjoyed widespread admiration as a man who walks the talk. Even in his late 80s, Pope Francis walked slowly, often with a cane or in a wheelchair. But his spirit remained vigorous. He continued to push the church to be more inclusive, more compassionate, and more honest. His critics said he was too progressive. His supporters said he was not progressive enough. But perhaps that's the mark of true reform, when no one side feels fully comfortable. What will his legacy be? Maybe this, that in times of crisis and confusion, Pope Francis reminded the world of a simple truth, that faith at its best is about service, about mercy, about love. Whether you are religious or not, Pope Francis has shown that leadership can be humble, that compassion can be revolutionary, and that even one voice, guided by faith and courage, may inspire millions. So where did Pope Francis live and eat and sleep? Coming up next is the Vatican apartment that Pope Francis said no to. If you found this story insightful, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the lives of world-changing figures.